So I guess I'll start with some announcements. So we have January's event guide most of the way done. So January is going to be mentoring month. So we'll have some resources for people to mentor children. And then we're also, I just had a meeting. I live in Columbus, so the SSA office is about a 5-minute walk from my house. So I went over to SSA yesterday, and we talked about a national partnership. And one of the pieces of that will be that our what they like to call off-campus teams and what we just call teams can reach out and mentor a student group. And there's a number of reasons why that is useful. One is that after you've been in a community for a while, you know which charities are likely to be good and receptive, and which charities are likely to not be very receptive to volunteering. The leadership of local groups doesn't tend to change year to year the way that the student groups change. So that'll be a big piece of the mentoring puzzle for January. We're also bringing back the BBN mentoring program, where the more experienced teams, like Free OK, for example, can mentor a brand new team that doesn't have as much experience.
Right.
So, any thoughts or questions about that?
How would the mentoring work? Will we be doing a virtual mentorship? Do you need us to sort of compile any resources or anything?
I don't think that you would. It would be pretty with both the SSA and the BBN mentoring. It would be pretty low-key and casual. So we would put you in touch with a group. So if you were interested in either getting mentored or being a mentor, you'd email me. And then in the case of SSA, I'd email SSA, or I would give you a list of teams that you could reach out to on your own. There's also, so SSA, their individual students really want to do more community service and volunteering. So when our new site launches, every Beyond Belief Network team should be able to have their own profile, and so then we can send those interested students to a list of BBN teams. They can find the one closest to them, and then they can join that team while they're going to school in that area.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that.
Yeah. So another aspect that we are working on is, so now the FBB conference has been announced. So Foundation Beyond Belief will be having a conference July
19th?
Yeah, July of next summer. And so one of the cool things that we're going to be doing is having service opportunities right there at the conference. And I'm not sure if it's going to be like a blood drive or some sort of meal packing service event, or what it's going to be. Kai, you might be able to give us some advice on that.
Yeah, I might.
Having run a few conferences that do service.
Yeah. Do you guys do you have a date for that yet?
Yeah, it's the 19th. Hold on, it has a page on the FBB website. Let me see what the address is.
I'm quite certain it starts the 19th.
Okay. It's the 18th through the 20th.
See, I was right in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's July. So it's foundationbeyondbelief.org/FBBCon.
Gotcha. I will look that up.
So we'll have, the speakers won't be, we're going to try to stay away from, you know how you go to, a lot of the speakers are overlapping when you go to different atheist conferences. We're going to try to have some, skeptic, free thought speakers, and also pull into the philanthropy and charity communities, so that it can be a networking opportunity for our BBN groups. So we're going to try to get, I think Leo Igwe from one of the humanist schools in Uganda is going to be there and speak. So we're trying to do things like that, so that it's really more about humanist service than about atheism or free thought per se. But where BBN
Yeah,
comes
that's
in,
what we've been trying to get away from.
oh, is it?
Yeah,
Yes.
we've been trying to get away from the atheist tag and just focus on the humanist service thing.
Yeah. Yeah,
Which
I
is
think,
complicated because people aren't as familiar with humanism as they are with atheism for whatever reason. It's less
yes.
controversial.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, though, for long-term sustainability, getting away from having the same 6 speakers over and over again is probably a good idea. And also, at least for us, having some of those local charities that are there in Chicago is an opportunity that we can take. Does Free OK is Free OK mostly an Oklahoma conference, or do you get lots of out-of-state people?
We do get out-of-state people. Pretty much the same. I guess since Skepticon is relatively close to us too. It has turned into something of a regional thing. It's a smaller thing than Skepticon, but it's still service activities. We are just Oklahoma specific.
Yeah, so you guys can do something similar to what we're doing, where we really want to get leaders of charities that are okay with. Can you guys hear the baby screaming, by the way?
Yes.
I didn't hear a baby.
I heard a baby.
Okay, he's in that room. I hope my mother-in-law is trying to get him to be quiet.
That's the fun part about doing these live hangouts.
Yeah.
You just never know what you're going to get.
Yeah. The joys of being a work-at-home parent are that. Thank God he's not older, though, because I've totally been on chats with somebody, like, and had, you know, some kid run through naked, and at least he's not be able to do that yet. Okay, so yeah, you guys can do the same thing, though, where you're like, this charity is an Oklahoma-based charity. We do a lot of work with them. They're awesome. Your team should totally, or you as an individual should totally get involved with them. So that's the sort of thing that we're going to have in mind. The other thing is that we're still sort of talking it out, but we'd like to have the BBN teams involved so that we have literature on them, or they can come as speakers. I'm not sure what sort of how that's sort of going to come into play, but we really want it to not just be about the humanist giving side of Foundation Beyond Belief. We want Beyond Belief Network and you know, Pathfinders and all of our humanist volunteering programs to be really heavily involved as well.
One thing they did at the Florida Free Thought Conference is they had a table set to the side for, and they, like they said, setting up the different charities or community services that were in the area. And there was an Orlando-based secular charity, and they were the ones that did like the toy drive. I mean, it was easy for me. They posted it up, said, "Hey, if you got toys that are laying around, bring them in with a garbage bag," you know. And that's what I did. So we just gathered some toys, and I was going to the conference anyways. And so it was easy for me to get rid of those toys, because I've had a bag of toys I've been wanting to get rid of, but just never got around to it or forgot about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's something that works really well for regional conferences. I think FBBCon is meant to be more of a national conference, so it works less well if you're like on a plane. You don't really want to, like, I brought an extra suitcase with all of my kids' old toys in it. But I love the drives for the regional conferences. I think that that's so awesome. And I think at the very least we should be able to do promotional materials. Like if we get brochures and stickers, we can set them out. And so even if there's not a physical presence, it can be like, hey, if you're from Oklahoma, go. You really should be going to Free OK every year.
You really should.
You really should.
I'm biased, but you should.
I agree.
Everyone agrees.
Yes, we are all in agreement. If I lived in Oklahoma, I would go to that. It's a little far from Ohio.
A little bit, yeah.
Oh, I know what the other thing was that I wanted to talk about is I wanted to talk about if anyone was interested in doing a fundraiser or any sort of response to typhoon, and I don't know how to say the name of the typhoon. Is it Haiyan?
I think it's Haiyan, yeah.
Haiyan. So for this has been one of the most successful crisis responses that we've ever had. People were really interested in helping That's
5. There's a plane flying by.
oh, okay. This time it wasn't me.
How would an effective sort of great distance relief effort work? I know we did the tornado things here in Oklahoma because we're in Oklahoma and we could be hands-on and on the ground and all that. But short of just asking people for money, how would we, I guess, do stuff in the Philippines?
And that is what it boils down to a lot of times, is asking people for money. One of our teams in Georgia for the Syrian crisis response actually got Dale McGowan, the executive director of Foundation Beyond Belief, because he lives in the area, to come speak at a meeting, and they just suggested that people give a $5 donation, and that event made $200.
Oh, okay.
So something like that, where you're like, hey, let's get together and have a meal, and everybody bring $5 to give to the crisis response, or selling things so that people are getting a little bit of something in return, rather than just asking for money. Because I understand, Light the Night is one of those things that you have to ask for money, and so most of our fundraising ideas are ways that you can ask for money without asking for money, if that makes sense.
Right.
So like selling things is good. If you can get a local restaurant involved, a lot of restaurants will do the thing where you serve dinner and you get the proceeds, and you get the tips for that night, and then you can advertise the heck out of it that your team is going to be partnering with this particular restaurant to raise money for this particular cause.
Someone asked if we were going to try and do another T-shirt thing, and I laughed hysterically because that's not happening. The last thing we did, it was too much. So we're gonna stay away from that.
Yeah, T-shirt. I mean, yeah, I understand. Like anytime you have merchandise and it has to be designed, like we just I can't remember if I made a big deal about it on the Facebook page, but we have a new BBN logo. So we knew that program. I took over as BBN coordinator in March, and it didn't launch until May. And it is November, and that's when we got the logo done. So I know exactly what you're going through when people are like, oh, it's no big deal, just design a T-shirt. And you're like, oh
yeah, that's too much. But people have been asking how they can help, and I just keep sharing the Foundation Beyond Belief link because that's the only thing that I've seen that I would trust.
Yeah, and even it's one of those things where sometimes people do the what's that thing for breast cancer awareness where you write what color of bra you're wearing, and it doesn't do anything. But sharing things on Facebook, the way it's set up these days, that really does help because people like the crisis response pages. It gets better reach. It shows up at the top of people's news feeds. So telling people to like pages is really helpful, actually.
Okay. I will just keep doing that then.
Yeah, so I mean, just if they have $5 to spare. Unfortunately, because it's overseas and there's, oh my goodness, they're having so many problems. Even the people that are on the ground, the organizations that are there, are having problems getting supplies to the people that are in need. So it's not one of those situations where you can really send food. You can't do a food collection to send it there, right. And no one can really get into the country. There's no on-the-ground response possible. So really the only option is awareness raising and money sending.
We can put something together. We'll let you know.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, and so I sent you the list of event reports that you have, and I feel like you guys did more than one cleanup following Oklahoma tornadoes. I think we only have a report for one, so I wanted to bring it up because I think this applies to other groups too, where they have a service activity that's recurring once a month, or another couple groups have a service activity that maybe it's like volunteering on your own time, but 4 or 5 of their members do it, and they do it under the name of the group. And so if you want to just email us with the dates that we're missing, we can clone those. We can clone the entry that we already have and add the additional details. So, you want to make sure that you're getting your t-shirts or your grants or even, just the recognition of all of the work that you did, plus the hours, right? So when we aggregate the hours, I really want to get us to that 30,000 by the end of the year. So if you have some backdated reports, you can email me.
Okay, I'll send you those dates when we get done here.
What's that now?
I'll send you those dates when we get done here.
Perfect. Yeah, and that goes for anyone who's watching this later, I guess.
Yeah, and I was gonna say because we do the monthly Dignity U, where I fill out the event reports every month, but I know that question comes up a lot: is if there are reoccurring events, is there some way to? Because the only problem with just setting up the reoccurring events is, one time we'll go and we had 7 members there, and there's like the last time we went we had 16, so the hours wouldn't be tracked.
But you could just send a quick email saying, hey, we did that regular service event. It lasted the same amount of time, but we had this many members instead of that many members.
Okay.
So that would be
good. For me, it's not a big deal to do it every month. That way it's just done right. But I'm just throwing that out there for people that are watching.
Yeah. Well, and this will come up in January, I think, because some of the mentoring ideas are really going to be, like, you don't generally take, like, a huge group of kids out and mentor them as a huge group. It's sort of a one-on-one type thing. But we also already have a couple teams that have recurring events where the individual team members are volunteering all for the same organization, doing the same thing, but doing it sort of on their own time, even though they have an agreement between the two organizations. And so those teams that do that sort of thing just send a monthly report. So, this many people did this many hours this month. So that would be fine for a mentoring thing. And it's as long as it's not like just the group leader that's doing it, because we've had a question about that before. If one person does a lot of service, your team shouldn't really get credit if you're the only person doing it. But if it's a few of you that are doing the same event, then that can be a recurring event that you submit reports about every month.
Right. And like example for the toy drive, how do we calculate the hours on that? It was just a handful of us gathering toys. I put an hour, and I just put the number of members that contributed to the toy drive. Is that the best way to go about it?
Yeah, that's fine. And sometimes, you have an event that maybe somebody one person took 5 hours to plan, and then the event itself is only 1 hour. If you add that to the notes, we can fiddle with the fields so that the hours are accurate.
Okay.
Did you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
With the pig. That wasn't my kid. That was my nephew. He really likes that.
It's fine. Sure, we'll believe you on that.
You could see my mouth not moving.
It could be a lag in the computer, the live feed. So.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, then we were talking off camera about setting up the virtual teams as well.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you wanted to get into that as well or not. If I was jumping the gun.
No, it's fine. So if you know of a podcast or your favorite blog does calls to action, then they should totally be a Beyond Belief Network group, because we'd administer it the exact same. They'd fill out the same application. The events that they'd be doing would be more things like supply drives and fundraisers in all likelihood. But there's no reason why they couldn't join Beyond Belief Network and get all of the resources that our local groups are getting.
Right, and that's what brought up, because Dogma Debate last night, they did their live show, and they were talking about an event that they're doing. They noticed that with the government shutdown, there was a retirement home that lost a lot of the funding for food. So once he heard that, he actually, as an atheist, he went to a church and bought a lot of, they have a thing where they buy a lot of food by the pound, and it's really, really cheap. So he said with like $300, he was able to feed the entire nursing home for 5 days or 7 days. So, but then the problem is, and then he was also saying that the government matches every pound or something like that for like government assistance. And then, but the problem is that the government won't assist them for another 30 days. So because they got 7 days worth of food, they're not eligible for government assistance for another 30 days. So he's currently holding, he's doing it, they just announced it last night, they're going to start accepting donations to help this and hopefully encourage other groups in the area to look into this as well. And that's when I talked to him about joining up with as a virtual BBN team.
Well, thank you, because I think it's awesome. And you know, so podcasts work and bloggers work one way, and I think so. Mothers Beyond Belief is an online forum that kind of works a different way. So we have that program Helping Hands, where if an individual needs help, they can apply for it, and then if we verify their need, we publicize it. Well, because Mothers Beyond Belief, I've seen a time where, you know, somebody had some sort of emergency, and their kid was gonna come on a plane and have a layover overnight in some city, and one of the other moms on that forum went and met the kid at the airport and took him home with her, and then put him back on the plane the following evening. And so, you know, there are forums where people are doing things like that, where they're really coming together and helping one another, and so that makes sense, I think, for them to be Beyond Belief Network teams too. And you know, they could do like some sort of drive, like blood drive, for example, where they're like, hey, everybody on the forum, as many people as possible, go give blood, and then send us a picture of yourself with a. Do they give you a sticker when you give blood, or is that just when you vote?
Last time I gave blood, they gave me a sticker.
Okay, so take a picture of yourself with your sticker, and then we'll add up all the people that went, and then we'll send them a report. So I think we might have to like develop some resources for virtual teams to do things like that. But I think it's eminently possible, and you know, as many ways as we can think of that people can incorporate service into what they're already doing, the better, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and the big thing too is like with the podcasts or bloggers, especially like with the crisis response. If the typhoon happened, they can, all right, hey, we're partnering with Foundation Beyond Belief to do this to fund money. So hey, go to our webpage and donate here. So that would, that's something as well. I mean, it's people helping people isn't a bad thing. So
no, not at all. And I think like you said, that's one of those ways in which awareness raising really is helpful. And people give like awareness raising a bad rap sometimes, because you hear that a lot, like, oh, that's just raising awareness. We really need to raise awareness. Well, yeah, if it's something like a crisis in a foreign country, yeah, raising awareness is service, because people aren't going to think about it, and they're not going to know about it unless they hear about it multiple times. So sometimes clicking like on a Facebook status really is a sort of pro-social behavior. So I think that we don't need to discount things like, if you're a blogger, sharing that people can go donate, like Kai was doing, which is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, some of our biggest donors for the Light the Night were the virtual Light the Night teams with Skepchick and wow, there you go. I just drew a blank there. And just incorporating them, and then it also spread awareness to other people that like never didn't hear it. So it's a win-win.
It really is. Are there any other topics that we want to cover?
Not that I can think of.
Instead of buying your kid a gift, buy a kid a gift through Kai's free OK book drive. What's it called again? What's the event called again?
It's the Humanist Gifting Project.
The Humanist Gifting Project. So we can all go there.
We have, if you just go to, I guess, the website, freeok.org, there's a slide that comes up about the Humanist Gifting Project, and that gives you, you click that gives you all the information about ways you can give. There's direct adoption, which is usually that's pretty much the favorite of the locals here. You know, you can go to our adoption page, and all the kids with their wish lists, tickets, Amazon items, all of that stuff is on the adoption page. Alternatively, you can just go to the Amazon wish list, and there is a link with, I guess, gibberish on the end of it. Otherwise, I'd tell you what that was. You can use that to purchase gifts if you're not close enough to come and drop them off physically. Or you can just donate money, and when we get to, I believe it's the week of December 14th, we're going to close out adoptions, and then we'll just use the funds that were contributed to go out and get whoever wasn't directly adopted a gift.
Aw. Do you know how many kids you've helped so far?
We had 102 signed up at the beginning, and as of, I believe, this morning, we have 56 still awaiting adoption.
Okay.
Something like that. Yeah.
So, well, that means that, like, about 50 kids.
Yeah, we're halfway there, and then
That's
we have
awesome. A month left.
Yeah, we got more. We got some more items from the Amazon wish list yesterday, which is always kind of fun for me because, like, I get to open up people's Christmas gifts before they get them,
Yes.
so I can, you know, go ahead and put down what gift is for whom, whatever. That's fun.
You get to be Santa Claus.
I do, and it's kind of cool.
It's so cool.
We have, because of the organizations we're working with, we most of our kids we got through Jordan's Crossing, and they help women and children who like mothers who are going through rehab and court situations and things like that in order to be able to get their children back. So we adopted most of those kids, and it's turning out well. But because of their housing situation, they asked that we not wrap the gifts ourselves, that we deliver them to Jordan's Crossing, and then they'll get them to the parents, and then the parents can tell the kids they got them from Santa, or some really nice people just gave them to them, or whatever. But then we do have we have 3 sets. Sets A and B are Jordan's Crossings kids. Set C is independent nominations from people in our own communities. And those we're allowed to actually wrap. So I'm hoping that once we get all of them adopted, we can have a wrapping party, and that would be fun too.
You know, wrapping parties are just things that people should do anyway. Like, that's a great way to, you know, get hot chocolate, watch Christmas movies, and wrap all your presents. What a nice way to spend an evening.
And I'm a big Christmas nerd, so
yes.
it's all fun for me.
Yes, people are so weirded out by atheists that love Christmas, and we all love Christmas because it's awesome. Most of us were raised with it as a secular holiday anyway.
Right, and it's we don't engage in the war on Christmas or anything, but we did the way we've been marketing it for the most part is sort of, it's an alternative to giving through, because given their stance on equality and all that stuff, people have sort of fallen off in participating in things with the Salvation Army, but they still want to give, so we're just acting as that alternative hub.
No, and that's perfect. So, like, that's, you know, there are very few organizations that we actually say, like, you probably, as a secular humanist, don't want your money going there, and Salvation Army is one of those organizations, because, like you're saying, they really do, they use the money to discriminate.
Right.
So, yeah, I love these alternatives to giving the Salvation Army. And I just love this idea of giving a gift to a needy child instead of, you know, give your kid one less gift and have a little certificate under the Christmas tree saying, like, hey, you gave a gift to a kid that doesn't have anything. I think that's the spirit.
Yeah, that's why we do have that the printout tickets. You do have a section that you can, you know, cut off and keep for yourself. And
that's so sweet.
in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be asking people for, like, submissions on different ways that they, you know, made their own ornament using that ticket.
Oh, perfect! So, I love that.
And at the blood drive, we're going to have about 10 or so physical tickets available if people want to come there and just look at them and pick them out. And I'll probably be doing some artsy craft stuff at the table while I'm signing people in to just give people ideas. Any arts and crafts project, really, I'm down for.
Yeah, that sounds fun. Well, I think that we might want to wrap up and say see you next time.
That'll work.
Does anyone have any final thoughts?
Secular love. Send out some secular love.
Virtual hug.
Adopt some kids.
Yes.
Christmas.
All right.